What up, what up, what up? I'm AC Cruz. You know who you are. Welcome to my podcast. Today's guests are Ricky Naranjo and Ruben Naranjo, Los Gamblers. We're going to be talking about their dad, Ricky's dad, Ruben's grandfather, the late, great Ruben Naranjo, Mr. Si Senor himself. You know, a lot of the people in the onda, in the music biz, they had their signature sounds, signature sayings. Like, for example, the legendary Freddie Martinez did Como la quiero. I can't do it, but he would do that. And who else? The Garcia brothers do Make it conjunto, carnal. And then who else does, let me think of another one. Oh, yeah, here's one that you may not know because it's been a while. Puro pure. Tierra Tejana. Of course. Oh, and then, ay nini. Ay nini. El Nicky Snake. Que paz descanse. Ay, Dios mío. Like I said, these guys had their own signature saying. And another one, Otra. The Hometown Boys. And that being said, it brings me to the passing of Bobby Martinez from the Hometown Boys. Unfortunately, he suffered a stroke while he was driving. This was back in 2019, and he never fully recovered. And it's a shame because there was so much talent in Bobby. And as a matter of fact, according to Anthony Trevino with the South Texas Homies, who toured with the Hometown Boys like for 11 years, he and Bobby were going to form their own group, and the name was going to be South Texas Homies. Matter of fact, if you go to Season 9, Episode 4, let me see, July 25th, 2021, it's all there. And again, it's unfortunate. So our condolences to La Familia Martinez, and of course, the fans of the Hometown Boys.
On the next AC Cruz podcast.
AC, before we get started, I just want to extend our deepest condolences to La Familia Martinez on behalf of Los Gamblers and La Familia Naranjo. We want to send our most sincere condolences on the passing of Bobby Martinez. So our most sincere condolences to the Hometown Boys and to La Familia Martinez. De parte de nosotros, our thoughts and prayers are with you. And I actually have a photo that I took with Bobby that I like to share. So I'm going to be sending that to you.
Yeah,
So,
by all means, put it in the slideshow, and I'll put it in there, man, for sure. Did you know Bobby?
Yes, I knew Bobby. I actually got to see him in Dallas. We performed out there at New West, and he was at one of our shows. And shortly after that, I heard that he was in a car accident, and that night I actually took a picture with him. So I'd like to share that picture with all the fans. And once again, our heartfelt condolences go out to the entire Martinez family, the entire Hometown Boys family. We're brothers in conjunto, and we're going to miss him.
All right. We are talking to Ricky Naranjo, Ruben Naranjo, Los Gamblers. ¿Qué onda, mano?
Aquí nomás, it's a pleasure to be talking to you. It's been a long time since I don't know if you remember the first time we met. I believe it was many years ago in Rivera, or Ruben had mentioned something about Rivera out there many years ago. But just really appreciate you having us on your show.
We're long overdue.
Yeah, hell yeah, it is. Hell yeah, it is. You know what? I tell you what. Back to 2022 during the pandemic, I was having a discussion with your good friend Bobby Pulido. You guys are good friends with the Pulidos. And we were talking about how slow it was for a lot of the bands, right? Anyway, he said, well, you know what? You gotta hand it to Ricky and Ruben because they are still working. During the pandemic, you guys kick ass, man.
Thank you. It was scary times, right?
Yeah.
Scary times around that time. And we were just talking about it a while ago. I don't think it's over. It's still out there.
It's still out there. You know, my handyman here that helps me out, he got COVID as of Thursday of last week. Another buddy of mine was down for the count with COVID. It's still out there, brother. It's still out there, man.
Yeah, we just gotta. Just take care of ourselves, ¿verdad?
Yeah, for sure. I'm opening up. Just so you know, I'm opening up a carbonated water. Usually I do a beer, but I'm drinking water right now, man.
It's too early, right?
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so listen, guys. First of all, I know the story, but I want you to share with our subscribers, our listeners, how the story goes. Your dad, your grandfather, he was a badass man. Ruben Naranjo. Can you tell me the
Um,
story, please?
yeah, sure. I mean, my dad was always, a fixture in the music industry since I was a young boy. Some of his best years were when I was very young in the late 70s, early 80s, but he never stopped playing to the day he passed away. When I was 24 years old working with him when we performed in Avillita on October the 10th of 1998, and he passed away on Monday morning on October the 12th of 1998. And
If you don't mind me asking, Ricky, how did he pass or what did he pass of?
my father had been feeling ill for a while, and he was one of those persons that you can get a few trains, and you wouldn't drag him to the hospital. You couldn't do that to an individual like him and the way he was raised. And so he was just, if I feel the same in a few days, then I'll go. And that just, we just tried our best to convince him to go, and he didn't want to go, and he ended up passing of congestive heart failure.
Oh wow, sorry to hear that,
Something
man.
something pretty simple that could have been probably just checked into the hospital and probably checked out within a week. But God does things for a reason, I believe. I don't, we're not here to question why, like that old saying goes. But anyway, AC, it wasn't very long after he passed that people were calling and asking about the band, and they weren't asking if I was going to continue with the band, but when. So they expected this band to continue, and that's all I've done with my dad's music is just continue the work. And that's what I feel it is. It's work. It's something that people are, they do certain things for a living, and this is what we do.
Ricky, how long after he passed did you have a period of mourning? How long did it take you to get the band back together?
It took a little while to mourn. Of course, I couldn't. I made a promise that I wouldn't start the band until I took all the what do you call it, the final, to pay for the funeral and things like that. I didn't want to have anything over our head. I wasn't married yet. I lived with my mom and my dad. It was just the three of us at home. And so probably about 6 months to 8 months, I started looking for individuals that I felt were going to be right to continue, or at least to do an album. And we did our first album. None of the record companies that I thought were gonna open their doors to me never did. The only one that did was Rick Garcia and Hacienda Records at the time.
Yeah.
And and a little bit afterwards, there's a few different musicians coming in and out of the band. Ruben finally came into the band, and the rest is pretty much history. We kept it in the family. We have Ruben's brother Roy, which is probably 80% of the reason that you hear out there in our live performances. It's Roy that you're listening to. I mean, you're listening to us, but it's through his work, through his
He's our engineer. Yeah, he's the one that helped us last night.
Right, all right. Hey, listen, regards to the music, Ricky, I want to ask you, what is your all-time favorite song de tu jefe?
I've been asked that many times, and I probably said each time a different song, but it's hard to choose a song from Ruben Naranjo to be like the number one song. I mean,
Or which one do you enjoy listening to?
Well, there's quite a few. There's different eras, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody likes Presos en Delito.
Yes.
I like it but it is just a few verses, compared to La Mariana, which is a little bit, has a little bit more verses. It's more like a corrido.
Yeah.
Por esa calle. I mean, there's just so many, but if I had to choose one, I don't know. It might be El Preso. I mean,
I love El Preso, man. I love that song. Right on, right on. You know what? I even love the way the undercover that, man. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an honor to hear bands like Jaime and so many others that Palominos, they cover a few songs. It's just it makes me feel that my dad's work wasn't in vain or whatever.
Oh
That
yeah.
people really he hit home to a lot of great musicians today.
Now, Ricky, I'm not gonna ask how old you are, but obviously you're a lot older than this kid right here next to you, which is Ruben.
I tell you what, you'd be surprised how close we are in age. It's just that
Oh,
Ruben
okay.
has,
My
yeah,
bad. My bad. Never mind it.
Ruben has this particular genes that work for him real
From
well.
my mom. I get it from my mom's side of the family, and I always tell her that we got Native American genes. That my mom looks like she doesn't age.
Right,
You
right.
you see her, and she just got that baby face look, and I inherited that from her, I guess.
Wait, Ricky. So you play drums, Ruben. You do accordion and sing, right?
Yes, sir. Oh, I do a little bit of saxophone in there. Um, that's kind of how I got interested in music. It started off with a saxophone. Uh, well, back to my grandfather. Uh, I was raised around music my whole life. I probably learned a song before I learned how to talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We've been around it all my life. I used to sing in the backyard with my grandfather. And to me, some of his best performances were outside around a fire
Yeah,
with
in the middle of July, mind you.
Yeah.
there was always a fire involved, and my mom would get so mad because I get home to old meow, smelling like mesquite. But we would hang out there, and I used to sing with my grandpa out there, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was a kid. Maybe 5 years old, around there, when I first sang on stage. Now I understand, but my grandpa used to tell me, "Tú vas a ser músico," and I was like, man, I didn't understand what he saw in me, and now I get it. I would come in on the right beat, I would come in tune, and it just came natural. And fast forward to when my grandfather passed away. I wasn't really interested in music. I was a teenager. I was about 14, 15 years old when he passed away, 98. After he passed, I mean, I thought about it for a while, because my instructor, Mr. Amadeo Flores, he offered to teach me the accordion. And my dad actually asked him, hey, can you teach me a few songs? And my dad was already, older. Well, he asked him, how much would you charge me to give me lessons? And Amadeo told him, I don't know, but, and he looked at me and he's like, pero, I wouldn't charge him anything. I'll teach him, because I was a little boy still,
Yeah.
teenager. So my dad told me, hey, he wants to teach you. So I thought about it, and my dad said, my dad wasn't pushing me onto it or anything. He just said, hey, think about it. So I thought about it, and for me, it was going to be like a Christmas present to the family. So I grabbed an accordion and I started going and taking a few lessons. I mean, I thought I was terrible. I still think I'm terrible.
Ricky, do you agree? I don't think he's terrible. Do you agree?
Oh no, he's I've listened to many
On the
many
mic.
many great accordions try to perform and and do their Ruben Naranjo bit or whatever. And
Yeah.
you know what, Ruben doesn't try to mimic or anything. He does the Ruben Naranjo thing naturally, and it's hard to explain, but someone like myself that's been listening, to I had my dad on my monitor for good 5 6 years. They, at a nightly basis, sometimes 3 times a night. When it's right. And Ruben's, it didn't take very long before he had it right.
Yeah.
Like I said, I thought I was terrible. And one day I showed up for accordion lessons, and it was a little cuartito, where I would go. Amadeo, Mr. Flores would sit on one side, and he had like a wall dividing, and he had like I guess like a waiting room. And I was sitting in the other room, and he was giving some lessons to a local musician, who already had music and, on the market, and he was being played here locally. And I guess he was getting some accordion lessons, and Amadeo was teaching him a song, and I was sitting in the other room, and they kept going overs and overs the same piece, and he couldn't get it. He was having trouble getting that part. I was sitting in the other room and I figured it out right away, just by listening. I was waiting for my turn, and after that gentleman left, it was my turn. I went in there and I told him, "Hey, that piece of the song you were trying to teach him, it goes like this, right?" And I played it. And he leans back in his chair and he looks at me and he's like, "Pa qué vienes pa acá?" And I was like, "What do you mean? You don't want me to come anymore?" He's like, "No, pues pa qué vienes pa acá?" He's like, "You don't have to come over here anymore." He's like, "What you did right there, that's all you got to do."
You got
You know?
it. Awesome.
He's like, you got it, man, and I was like, "Well, I come over here because I still want to learn more, And he's like, "No, hey, you got it, man. What you did right there, that's all you got to do." After that, I started going less and less, and I started playing. At first, when I started, I was like a feature, in the set. I would go out and only play like a few songs,
Yeah.
with a band.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, next thing you knew, we were in the recording studio and I was recording, an album. I still remember the first time I'm not going to say the first time I sang on stage, because I got to sing on stage with my grandfather when I was a little boy a
Very
few
cool.
times.
Very cool.
At Conjunto Festival in San Antonio, Rosedale Park, in Houston once. But the first time I sang and played the accordion, it was here locally, and it happened by accident here in Atlas. There was a political event. Our músico, the vocalist, was from San Antonio, and it was we were doing it. I think it was a freebie, right? We weren't getting paid for that.
No, it was yeah, it was a political event, and it was all like, hey, come support, wherever candidate was there, and yeah, we were lacking some major the vocalist, and I believe that's the first time you and Roger
Yes.
met.
So it just so happened that I told Ricky, "Hey man, I'll sing. I know all the songs." The guy I sing with now, Roger Ramirez, he was there. And he's young. He's a couple of years older than me. We were young at the time. And I knew he knew all the words because his dad would back up my grandfather. He's the one that recorded all those hits that we mentioned earlier.
Sure.
So I saw Roger, and my dad asked him, "Hey man, will you sing with Ruben? He's gonna sing, and will you back him up and do the segunda?" And Roger was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So we just practiced briefly, like in the back of the stage, like before we went on, and we went up there, and I'm not gonna say we killed it because we were amateurs, but it was like an instant connection, Like
Sure.
as soon as I sang with him, I was like, man, it was like natural. We didn't have to try, it sounded good.
No, it was a pretty magical moment, I guess. A lot of nostalgia because I noticed right away. I mean, I've been, at that time I had been around for a while and seen the reaction of fans and in different venues and stuff. But I could tell that the fans, they wanted more of the Naranjos on there, not just Ricky Naranjo on drums. So
Yeah.
I knew that was the beginning of something pretty special, and it was a pretty special day that day. What happened that day is one of the main reasons that that we have, that I consider this a family business, and
Sure.
and I think my dad would be very proud of that.
Hey Ricky, just so the listeners know, I want you to tell them that you are his uncle.
Yes, well, Ruben's not my son. Yeah, he's my brother. His dad, we're brothers. Ruben Naranjo Jr. is my brother. He's the eldest of the family. I'm the youngest, and Ruben is the third. So there's the band is. I still consider it three generations. Ruben Naranjo, being first generation. I'm second generation, and Ruben's the third generation.
Hell yeah.
And the people have accepted us very well. We've most of our fans, we consider them family. We spend a lot of time with one another after the dances. Sometimes we hang out, and we've been fortunate enough to be a part of some of those cruises and some places in Vegas and Milwaukee, and we get a lot of fans that follow us, and we all travel together and hang out like family.
Yeah, and for the record, Ricky and I, we're more like brothers because Ricky was 10 when I was born, right?
Yeah.
So He used to rough me up like his little brother too.
Right on. Does he still rough you up?
Yeah. We were like brothers, you know. We grew up 10 years apart. But even when I was doing like bad shit, you know, Ricky was. I think you caught me smoking a cigarette one time when I was a chaval.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, Ruben, he's quite a character. You guys don't let the innocent look fool you.
Pinche baby face, ya madre, no.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm very proud of him. He's he finished high school, he went to college, finished college, and those are the things that really are important in life. So everybody's listening out there, you're young, stick to schooling. You need it.
Yeah.
That's very important. That's far the most important accomplishments that you ever do in your life. Music and stuff. If God wants that for you, it'll happen. But of course, whatever it is that you're gonna want to do in life, go for it 100%, and
Yeah.
things will go well.
Hey, Ricky, when you started playing drums, was your dad crazy about that, or did you? Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. When it comes to the drums, did you like conjunto, or did you prefer drumming to other types of music?
I never drummed before in my life. I did play a little percussion in the high school band, and it was a small little band. We were a 1A school. But no, I think my dad, and the first time I performed the drums, I thought he was torturing me to death. Really, I'm not kidding. But yeah, my dad was notorious for just getting after his drummers for many, many years, and I saw a lot of them come and go. A lot of them, we became friends, and all of a sudden they were gone. And and I was engineering, running sound, and one day I finally got it to sound like pretty good.
Yeah.
Roger's dad actually was on stage, and I'd never heard him perform live together since I was maybe 8 years old or something, So it was like, wow, it sounded like an old 45 because I didn't have very, very nice equipment at the time. Then it didn't sound very well. And I looked to the side, and the drummer's standing next to me. And I'm like, well, it doesn't sound very well because there's no drummer. So I went up on stage, and I told my dad, my dad wouldn't, he would play long purpurris. He was known for that.
Yep.
And, and I go, hey, Dad, what's going on? No te gusta, súbate tú. He tells me that. So I'm like, all right, I'll get on the drums. And I mean, I thought I was in pretty good shape or whatever. But you know what? After about 20 minutes, that he wouldn't stop. He just kept on going. You start feeling the cramps in your legs when you're not used to it. It's something different. And, well, long story short, he just kept on going a whole hour without stopping, and I'm over here like really in a lot of pain and disbelief mainly. But I kept on, and that's how it got started.
So wait a minute, Ricky, hold on. So you got on drums by accident, not by accident, but you got on there from out of nowhere.
Pretty much. I mean, it was never planned. It wasn't. It was just one of those things that happened.
There was no practice.
Oh no, nothing like that. No,
that's crazy, man.
No, and then he finishes and goes into a wapango without even a second of it in between, and he's there. And I don't know how I even knew how to do the wapango thing, on the drums, and then another song. I'm like, oh, I was about to just fall right there in the stage.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for me being, young, I don't. I mean, if it happened today, I wouldn't be able to make it at all. But I was young. I believe I was 20 years old.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, do you remember what town this was in?
It was in Victoria, Texas, at the Riverside Ballroom or something.
Wow,
like that.
It's been a long time since I heard about the Riverside. I con Ricky Rivera, no?
I don't remember who the promoter was, but I remember it was a park outside. It was a very nice place, and
yes, my dad used to do a lot of dances there. Matter of fact, when Gary Hobbs and Brandon Mendez were here, they talked about doing dances at the Riverside. As a matter of fact, that's where I met Gary Hobbs and Brando for the first time at Riverside.
Yeah, no, there was Victoria was one of our towns that we did well. We always hit it up on the way up or down from Houston. Every time we passed through that place, I think we played there once. I'm not sure if it's still there or not. And every time I see it, my legs hurt and cramp up.
No, we've been there. I remember that place also because I had just bought a brand new wireless system and we played there. And I don't know if there was something wrong with the electricity there or something, but I burned all my wireless stuff there.
Bingo. Well, let me ask you a question. What is the favorite place the gamblers love to perform?
I personally like Seguin, Texas. Anywhere around that area, it's a it's a it's a Ricky Naranjo or a conjunto place for, and that I remember because
Hell yeah. Hell
my
yeah.
father had I mean, I was young and I wasn't married out, so he for some reason in Seguin he had a young crowd.
Yeah, I would say Fiesta Ballroom in Seguin. Shout out to La Familia Treviño.
Cool.
Yeah, they knew my father since they opened up the place. They actually built the place, and around the same time that my dad was was coming along as one of the top bands in the industry. And Mr. Trevino had and Paz Descanse, the Señor Trevino and El Señor Trevino, we knew each other very, very well. They told me a story one day that the dance was full and Ruben Naranjo wouldn't show up. Well, he was over there in Taylor. He was in the wrong city. And they made an announcement that the Ruben Naranjo was going to be a little late. So if everybody wanted to buy extra beer, because they were only going to be able to sell till midnight, or I'm not sure if it was a Friday or Saturday or till 1, but anyway, nobody left. Everybody bought their beer, and my dad performed till like 3 in the morning or something. He didn't get there till like close to midnight. And
wow, very cool.
He went to the wrong pueblo.
yeah, he was in a different, totally 2 counties away, I think.
I can imagine. Hey, when you mentioned Seguin, as a matter of fact, Joey Jams has been on the podcast, and originally from Seguin. Apparently, he's there in Alice. You guys are in Alice, and he's there in Alice, man.
Hombre, cada rato me lo topo en el Walmart or HEB buying to make barbecue. Yeah, shout out to Joey. Yeah, Joey's good people, man. Es buena gente el Joey. He's a good friend. We always run into each other, and he's a very humble individual.
I wouldn't go that far now. Come on now. We're talking about Joey Jazz, man. Come on. Yeah. Are you kidding me? He tried to take it over the show. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Listen, brother, I appreciate you coming by, doing my podcast. I know that you're busy. You don't have to do this, but thank you.
Oh, man. You know what? Thank you so much. Apart from being here doing the podcast, it's a fucking awesome to fucking sit down and talk with you, dude, because I'm telling you, I hear you in my car all the time. Brando Mireles on keys, Adolfo Garcia on drums, Tommy Gonzalez sax and percussion.
You through?
Alfonso Superboy Gonzalez on accordion, Mario Gonzalez on bass. These are Tejano Music's bad boys. Dude, I'm telling you, bro, that wasn't rehearsed.
I'm turning everything over to you, man. You got it. The podcast is now called
The Joey Jam Show.
Now, Joey's cool. He's now a part of Alice, and we're proud to have him here. I believe it or not, everybody thinks that I'm from Alice. I was born in Alice, and I left Alice. They took me out of the city limits when I was 2 years old, and I live in the same place where I've lived since then. Which is
in a pineapple under the sea.
Yeah.
He just SpongeBob Chinga.
Yeah, but we have a couple of acres there, and I mean, it's beautiful. I really enjoy how I grew up. We like being the youngest one. I'm not just the youngest one from my mom and dad. I'm the youngest one, like, from that whole that whole generation. From my the youngest primo and everything. And my grandfather had a lot of influence on me growing up. We had a little farm. We had farm animals, some hogs and goats and chickens and things like that.
In Benbow, Texas.
Yeah,
Benbow,
that's where I went to school, in Benbow. Yeah.
Benbow, I'll be damned. I got pulled over in Benbow, taken to jail.
No, hombre, Puro Jimos County.
Hey, no shame in my game. Hey, I've been to jail several times, Chica. Forget about it. Anyway, so you live in Benbow, you live in Alice. How do you guys get together and practice, man? Or do you practice?
Really, the only time we practice is if we're going to go into the studio, or if we have to rehearse like a certain song for a special show or something like that. For the most part, we've been blessed that we perform so often that we don't have to practice. It's like a weekend thing. Every weekend we're pretty much booked. So we stay pretty hot. Now, during the pandemic, we stopped playing for a while. And I know you touched on that earlier. For me, it was like a very sad time, not only because of what was going on and, we're losing a lot of good people, but like music, I didn't realize it until we couldn't, perform at music venues. For me, music is it's like therapeutic. It's a stress reliever. It's like a high for me also. Like
Sure.
I get a high off of it. And when we weren't able to do it, man, I found myself like really like depressed.
Depressed. That's the way I felt. I mean, again, years and years of consistently doing things on weekends. If it's not, running two shows, sometimes it was three. It was very rare that we would only perform one day out of the week. And then to go from that to nothing, it was pretty tough for me. I became a professional couch potato slash alcoholic. Yeah, I found myself watching soap operas and all these other shows that
Yori Yori.
yeah, but we lost so many good people. I mean, I couldn't imagine. We were very blessed. All of my family members, pretty much that got it, they survived it. Roger, he got it pretty bad. He ended up in the hospital, and he's very lucky to still be with us.
Yeah, it was a very dark time, but when we were able to finally, because we would do a few shows here and there during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I remember the first one we did, we hadn't played together in a good while. And man, it was like, wow. I mean, it was a workout. After that, we were like super sore.
Yeah, well, I hadn't been sore in years, and all of a sudden I found myself. And then my daughters, they're one of them. She likes to, she's in basketball and all this stuff, and sports. She's right now she's 17 years old. At the time, she was a little younger, but I'd always mess with her because she'd have to go and lift weights, and she'd be sore, and I, press her calves or whatever she was. And then I came back from a gig, and right away she noticed that I was like kind of limping and walking kind of funny. So she started doing that to me, and so I don't mess with her anymore.
Hey, any of your children interested in music at all?
No, my girls they're real shy. They're in their own little, they like other different things, and
I
they're
understand.
they're
Yeah.
they but who knows? You never know. I know my little one was in mariachi. I got her a violin, and then that mariachi won state that year.
Awesome.
Yeah, so if they want to, they could. I'm not gonna pressure. I was never pressured into being a musician at all, and I'm gonna raise my kids the same way.
My kids, they're little still. I got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. My 7-year-old, she's a little girl, and my 3-year-old's a little boy. And it's funny that you asked that because they sing, but they sing songs that they listen to, on the iPad or whatever on the internet. And I've been listening to them lately, and man, they got it, man. I mean, as far as like tuning goes and timing and all of that, even my 3-year-old, like I freak out with him. I just recorded a video the other day where driving back from Corpus, and they were singing a song, and I was like, man, I freak out with them because it reminds me a lot of myself when I was their age.
Sure. Sure.
So I know if they want to pursue music, they naturally have it.
They don't gotta go too far. I tell you that right now, man. I tell you what, my daughter, believe it or not, she's like 27, but she's got an announcer voice. So actually, she recorded a couple of commercials on my podcast, man. And I said, dude, you got it. You got it. So I sent her like this little starter kit with a good microphone, laptop. No, but so anyway, but she's not interested, to be quite honest with you. But that's okay.
Yeah, and like Ricky said with my kids, I'm not pushing it on them at all.
Exactly.
I'm not, but I notice it that they like to sing, and my little girl asked me, "What do you think, Dad? Do I sound good?" And I'm over here like secretly recording her because I don't want her to see that I'm recording, because I don't want her to get nervous or whatever. And I mean, she sounds great.
Yeah.
She sounds so good the other day. She made me cry. I was over here hiding. I didn't want her to see me.
I love it. Oh, you mentioned earlier you in the studio, or when you went to the studio. Are you guys in the studio at all?
We're not, but we have plans on putting an album out this year. I've been kind of gathering some material. I got a few songs, some oldies that I like, and I can't wait to. But we need to rehearse first of all. But once we get them down, hopefully soon we'll have something brand new out here shortly. Hopefully, con el favor de Dios.
Ricky, you looking forward to recording some new music?
Oh yes, I mean we're actually due for something new. The people have been very patient with us, and I really appreciate their patience. And the saying goes, your patience will be rewarded. We're really going to put our heart and soul into the next project that we do.
Que bueno. Gays, where are you guys gonna play at anytime soon?
Well, we got Angleton coming up
Oh, is that with Jim?
with Jim Luna. Shout out to Jim.
Yeah. Now, what is it called? Tano? What's it called?
Conjunto Overload. I think that's what he titled it. It's going to be an awesome show. That's in Angleton, Texas, March the 18th. And Sonny Sauceda is going to be out there, y todo eso, as well as Ricky Naranjo y los Gamblers, us. And then at the end, he's going to have an accordion shootout. And get this, I've seen a lot of accordion shootouts, I guess. But this one is going to feature Conjunto, which is us and Sonny, Tejano as well, and Zydeco. So there's
wow.
J.R. Gomez is going to be out there, Josh Baca, Rara, I guess he's representing the Zydeco, and Corey Ledit, Zydeco. So it's going to be an awesome show. There's going to be a little bit of squeeze box music for everybody.
Any place else that we can look forward to?
We're going to be at a lot of festivals coming up. We're going to be at the Poteet Strawberry Festival. We're out there on the Sunday. We're going to be at the Conjunto Festival in San Antonio as well, at Rosedale Park. That's one of the first places I ever sang at. I mentioned it earlier as a kid. We're going to be doing, let me see. We're going to be there in San Antonio also the week of Fanfare, March 17th. We're going to be out there at, I think it's called Spring Break Fest, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of cool artists out there. And we're going to be at Spring Fest in Beeville. That's March the 25th. That's a big event also. Big shout out going out to Lupe Cuellar and all the people who are putting that together.
Awesome. Ricky, Ruben, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking time to visit with me, and continued success to all of you guys, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We really appreciate your time. And otra vez, saludos a todos y que viva la música de Conjunto. Sí, señor.
Sí, señor. Saludos. And it's a pleasure to be on your show. We were listening to a few episodes earlier. My favorite one is the one you posted, de Pulido, where it was all these impersonations. Big shout out para el primo, para Bobby, toda la familia.
Happy belated birthday to Mr. Roberto Pulido. Hombre, we go way back. Our families go way back.
Yes,
nothing but love between us. And I again, happy belated birthday.
Sí, señor. And once again, thank you for having us on your show. It's our pleasure. I mentioned to you, I remember when you were in Corpus, and I know you're well respected, in the industry by all the artists. So hats off to you, brother, and continued success on your podcast.
Igualmente, mano. Cuídate mucho, ¿eh?
Sí, señor.
Oh, yeah. You gotta love that. Sí, señor. Especially coming from A Naranjo. Ricky, Ruben, thank you so much. Sí, señor. We're out the door. Thank you, Jacqueline. Romeo, TejanoNation.net. And more importantly, thank you, the listeners, the subscribers. If you like the podcast, tell your friends. If your friends don't like it, find new friends. So just chill to the next episode of the AC Cruise Podcast. Much love. Be safe.